Welcome, boys. We're back at it, and today we are talking about careers, jobs, you name it. I think Adam just mentioned, have we all worked 9-to-5 jobs before?
Yeah, I have. Let's go through. I was like, obviously, like, you know, in high school, did like the casual jobs here and there. I think I worked at the reject shop with Jonas and Albert. We all worked together in high school.
At the reject shop?
Yeah.
I used to always see Jonas at General Pants.
Oh yeah, so I worked with Jonas at General Pants later, but our first job was all at reject shop, and me and Jonas were at Eaglevale, and then Albert was at MacArthur Square. But like every now and then he'd do a shift with us, and fuck, it was just being stupid. And then
I was gonna say, would work ever get done?
Nah. And you know what? Like, actually, we'll touch on this a bit later on though. But like, I was always had like really bad work ethic when I was working. Like, I just like would just be there for a good time, just do minimal work, and like I was known for that, right? I was known for that, and just enough to get by, right? And then even like after that, I got a few other like jobs at like General Pants and can't remember where else, like a suit shop, David Jones I was working at for a bit, and then I went to uni just because I thought I had to go to uni because, you know, culture, and your parents go, you gotta go to uni. They didn't give a fuck what I was doing. Just, you have to go to uni. Like, I could have been studying like a bachelor of prostitution.
Man,
like,
my dad used to get mad if I told him I wanted to go to TAFE.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Even TAFE was like, no, it had to be uni.
Yeah.
And like, it's just so funny. Like, doesn't matter what I was doing, had to be uni. And then with that, you know, I might as well go into it. But like, when you're kind of like doing stuff for other people, that's where you get really lost, right? And when I went to uni, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I left high school, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was just like, just down for having a good time. And my brother was doing accounting and doing really well. And I was like, oh, if he's doing accounting, I'll just do it. You know what I mean? So I studied that for a year, and I was actually going really well in it. Like, I think 'cause I just like, it's probably the autism in me. I just like like the numbers and just seeing things kind of like fall into place. So I was actually going well. I was getting like distinctions and credits and stuff. But after a year, I was just like,
were you the only person doing dodgy shit while studying accounting? You're already starting to write the books.
Fraud.
Fraud thing.
Cook the books and study. Did a course on fraud. And then, I was doing a year of it, and like, I was just like, I like hate this. It's so boring. Like, and then I was like, I can't see myself doing this rest of my life. Like, but my parents were like, oh, but you're doing so well, whatever. And I was like, yeah, but I hate it. Like, I don't care if I'm doing well. Like, I hate this. It's so boring, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. And I remember, obviously, like in a few episodes, I was talking about my relationship with my dad, and like how I just wanted nothing to do with him, and like I almost wanted to like go the opposite of what he wanted. I heard him boasting to someone at a family party, saying like, oh, like both my sons are at university and they're both going to be accountants and stuff. And that was enough for me to be like, fuck it, I'm dropping out. The next day I dropped out. And like, but you know, like, now, like legit the next day I went into the uni and dropped out because I was like, it's making him happy, so I'm dropping out. But like, but now I'm like, you know, like that all had to happen, you know what I mean, for it to pan out. And then I was like, oh, I still felt like I had to go to uni, right? It was still that thing that was indoctrinated in my mind. I have to go to uni. So I was like, oh, what do I do? So I worked at the Coles factory in Smeaton Grange for like 6 months. And even that, I was just half-assing it. Just, you know, like, and they were really strict. Like, you had to have a certain pick rate. And I was like always just under or whatever. But I was literally just like working to get money to kind of just go out on the weekends or whatever, right? I had no work ethic, no drive with anything. And then my cousin, so Jonas's sister, she was a teacher. She was studying teaching. And I was like, oh, I'll just be a teacher then. You know, just again, following the crowd because I felt like I had to go to uni. So I studied teaching. But at the uni I was going at, it was, you had to do a bachelor's first. So I did a Bachelor of Arts for 3 years. And then you do the master's in primary education.
Okay.
So by the time I did my master's, it was already my 4th year of that course. And when I was doing the bachelor, like, I was doing subjects that didn't even relate to teaching. I was doing like Buddhism in the contemporary world. I had to go like different like Buddhist temples and like stuff, which relates to what I'm doing now. Of course. But like, and then I was doing like French cinema where I was watching French movies. And then when it came to like the end of the 3 years, I couldn't do the masters because they're like, none of your subjects relate to teaching. You can't use these. So like, didn't have enough like credit points. So I had to do another 6 months to get the credit points, and then I did the master's in teaching. And at that point, I studied 3.5 years to get to this point. And then when I was doing teaching, I did prac. I was like, I fucking hate this. This is a shit job. But I was like, I just spent 3.5 years getting myself ready for it. I go, I'm going to commit to it. I started thinking, is it commitment issues? Or is it the actual job? But I'm like, all right, I'm just going to commit to it. It's 2 years doing the masters, did that. But that was 5.5 years studying teaching, right? It's like a medical degree. And then I was like, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and just do it. So started teaching, and I didn't mind it. But then every job I had, I was not living to work, I was working to live, right? That's the way I kind of looked at it. I'm like, I don't have to like my job, I'm just working to live.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not living to work, I'm working to live. So I'm just getting money so that I can, go on holidays or, buy a car, buy a house, whatever. And, but that mindset works for some people, and it worked for me for a long time. But when you think about how much time you spend in work, that's not a good way to live your life, if you know what I mean, in my opinion. And that's what I realized. Because then what happened was I was counting down, right? I was in this 9-to-5 job, the teaching job. I was counting down. So I was like, 5 more days to the weekend. And then because of school terms, it's like, 10 more weeks to school holidays, right? And then I'm counting down weeks. And then all of a sudden it's like, 4 more, like there's 2 more terms before the end of the year. And we've got the big holidays. And then I realized, I was like, I just spent 10 years of my life teaching. And it just went by like that. Right. And I remember sitting in the staff room and having my lunch, and there was this like a lot of like the older teachers were just really miserable. They hated their job.
Yeah.
And I'd be sitting there and they were just like hated the kids, hated the jobs. They'd be bitching and complaining about the kids, complaining about work, talking about holidays. And then I was just sitting there eating my lunch listening to them, and I was like, fuck, man, if I'm 60 and becoming one of these teachers that is old and grouchy and hating their job and complaining about it, I've only got myself to blame.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, again, just got out of there. I was like cold turkey, left. And then obviously the COVID vaccine kind of helped, because I had to, that was like the push out of the door that I needed. Because when they were mandating the vaccines, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get a vaccine that I don't want to get for a job that I hate. So that was God's way of kind of being like, here you go. You need that nudge out, because you've been thinking of starting this business for years, but it was just a thought. You need to create this thought. Yeah. But I had that safety net of that 9-to-5 job. Do you know what I mean? So I was just like, it was never going to it was just always going to be a thought. And then when that happened, that was God's push out the door that I needed. And then I was like, all right, it's do or die. I've got to start this business now, and I've got nothing else to fall back on. And yeah, and now it's like, now I don't live to work. Sorry, now I don't work to live. I live to work. I feel like my job just blends in with my life, and it's just and you guys know, you guys will be telling your story about your careers and stuff as well. But it's not like you're waking up dreading going to work. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so much more purposeful and intentional what you're doing. I'm not saying that teaching can't be purposeful and intentional. I know there's so many amazing teachers out there, but for me, I felt selfish staying in that role when I couldn't give it the energy that it deserved, because you're so responsible for so many kids. You know what I mean? And you have such a huge impact. Like teachers, kids see their teachers more than they see their parents in the day. Do you know what I mean? That's 6 hours of their day that they're spending in a school with their teachers. And, and I know that I had a big impact on those kids, because, I gave them stuff like, I wasn't taking my programming and all that kind of stuff seriously, but like, I know the connection I had with those kids was something that you couldn't learn at university. Yeah. Right. And even like, there's been 2 incidents in the last couple of months where I was just at the shops in Campbelltown, and like, so there's 3 incidents actually. There was one mum that I used to have her son in kindergarten, and she saw me for the first time in like 15 years or whatever, and then she was like, "Oh, Mr. Pereira," and like I had a shaved head at the time, so she kind of like was like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and then she goes,
like, "No."
No, fuck off. Push my crash cards. Just carrying like beers and shit like that. Fuck off. No, but I was like, yeah. And then like, she was just saying how like, how grateful she was that I had both her boys in kindergarten. I had both her sons. And then like a month later, there was another like mum I was in the checkout, and I was with Lorna, and then she goes, "Mr. Pereira, is that you?" And I'm like, yeah. And then like, she came and gave me a big hug, and like she was saying like, and she was an older woman. She had like all the family around except the boy that I taught. He wasn't there, and she's like, oh, like, you know, he's like at like uni now. He's studying, and he's like, just telling me about his life. And I'm thinking like, it's crazy that he's at uni. Like I had this boy like in year 5, but then she was saying like, you know, like he like absolutely loved you. He still has your class photo on his wall, and that's the only class photo he has from all through from like kindergarten to year 12.
Wow, man.
It's a photo of me and like with standing with all the kids like in this school photo, the class photos. That's the only one he has on his wall because he still talks about you to this day. And then the other day I was getting some pork rolls up at Lee's Bakery. Big shout out to Lee's Bakery. And then I was getting pork rolls for me and Lorna, and she was waiting in the car, and I was standing next to this like massive Islander guy, right? Who I just assumes a man, has like tattoos in his neck. And then like we started talking to him, just having a chat, and then he goes, "Are you a teacher?" And I go, "I used to be." He's like, "Mr. Pereira?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, it's me." And he said his name, and it was a boy that I taught, and I absolutely love this kid. I'm like, "Dude, I didn't recognize you. You're like bigger than me now." Like, and then and yeah, and we were just talking and stuff, and it was just like, it's just so beautiful, like the impact you have on him. And even though I hated teaching, and sometimes people ask me, do you wish you started Soulflex? For the people that are just tuning in that don't know what I do, I run my own business where it's personal training, but we do meditation, breath work as well. So it's a holistic personal training business. And people always ask me, oh, do you wish you just started this like straight out of high school? And like, you know, imagine you'd have like, you know, 15, 20 years of like this business. And I'm like, no, because I needed to experience everything I experienced.
Yeah,
I needed to have jobs that I hated. I needed to have jobs that were like building up skills that would help me do what I do now, right? And teaching played a big part in making me, I guess, the PT and the business owner that I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ads? Tell us a little bit about your journey to...
Yeah. Yeah. My what did I do? Man, my God, my thing is probably a lot more spread out than you. While I was studying, I was the same as you, where at high school I was like good at art, and yeah, good at art, but art on computers. And at that point in time, when we were kind of graduating high school, no one really knew what to do with those two skill sets. So everyone just said like, why don't you go into graphic design? You know, they're really in demand at the moment. You'll get heaps of jobs. So it's a good one to do. And so I went, I guess so. Not even really understanding what a graphic designer did. So I went to Wollongong Uni, and apparently everyone got the memo that year that they were in demand and a lot of jobs, because the year before they had one intake, they had one class. And my year they had 3 classes that they were stretched out on, so there's so many more people. And yeah, I did 3 years at uni just to decide that I didn't want to be a graphic designer anymore. And I did one subject there in 3D animation. It was an elective that I chose in the computer science area, and I was like, nah, this is what I want to do. Like, this is how I get to make those like animated cutscenes that I used to admire in all the games that I used to play and all that sort of stuff. So then I did another 2 years studying at a private college to do 3D animation, and my first official job in the industry was at Animal Logic in at Fox Studios, and I got to work on like Harry Potter, doing visual effects for that, Great Gatsby, Walking with Dinosaurs, a couple of big films. But yeah, while I was studying, man, I did, what was I? I started off at Macca's back in the day, represent. I was there for about 3 years, then went on to Sizzler back while it was still open.
Cheese the toast.
Oh, bro, I know the recipe. I can give it to you if you want. Not on air though. Trade secrets. And then I finished up at Camden Hotel, working there sort of behind the bar and as a glassy, and that's where I met my now wife. She used to work there as well. And yeah, so then I worked in the industry, and then after 2 years of doing what I thought I was like set on doing, I just realized that I had so much more say. I wanted to have so much more say in how the movies were being made. And I didn't just enjoy being a cog in the wheel of the sort of visual effects department. It sounds really cool saying that you're working on movies like Harry Potter and all that sort of stuff, but in reality I was just sitting at a computer every day, like just for usually overtime every day behind a computer. And it just really drained me, and I really wanted to be making films, not just a cog in the wheel. So after 2 years I made the decision to leave, and I actually became an actor for a bit. I had an acting agent. They ended up getting the shits that I was spending too much of my time trying to create my own opportunities, making my own films and stuff, than going to all their like networking events and all that sort of stuff. So that relationship fell apart after about a year. At which point in time I then went to work in radio, and I worked at C91.3, local radio station, started off in their promotions team, ended up being on air as a casual announcer for a bit. And then from there, I think actually I moved up to Brisbane to be with Collie. So we weren't doing long distance, and I worked at another animation business just so I had a job while I was up there. And then when we moved back, I then did the like proper 9-to-5 slog at an advertising agency as like their videographer and photographer in-house. And yeah, it's crazy taking a creative job and forcing someone to do it, like strapping them to their desk 9 to 5 and telling you like you have to be creative within these hours. And more often than not, outside of those hours too, we're going to demand like overtime from you and stuff. And so I think I did that for about 3.5 years while building up my production company and my business. And yeah, it was actually the same sort of as you. COVID was my stepping out point because everyone was forced to work from home, and I realized that how I work for them was how I worked for every one of my other clients. So I put it forward to them to say like, hey, I don't think I want, when they made the call, we want everyone back in the office because we've lost our productivity and our efficiency. And, you know, my brother works in this field. He goes into businesses to show, like, work out their production pipelines and see where their efficiencies are and make things better and whatever. And I said to him, like, are there any ways that they could have actually in a month's time worked out efficiency and productivity and stuff from people working from home? And he went, there's no way. There is no way they'd have had the stats to prove that. And I went, sweet. So I said, like, no, I don't believe that. You're getting more out of me being at home, working overtime, because I'm not commuting to the city every day. I'm jumping back on my computer at night and doing extra stuff for you guys just because it's just on the other end of the house. I was like, I'm being more productive for you now than what I am when I go to the office, let's face it. So I think I should work from home. And they just went, no, we want everyone back in the office. Like, it's that old school mentality of business that I think there's been a big cultural shift lately to try and remove that 9 to 5 like bullshit about workplaces. But yeah, they didn't want to bar of it. And so I said to them, you're gonna have to if you're going to do this, you might force me to make a hard choice. And they tried to call my bluff. So my next email was my resignation, and that was it. But it was also at a time where my business, I was getting so much work with my business that I was struggling to fit both in. Sure. And I was like, well, this seems like a good stepping off point if they're clashing with each other. So I just said, bye. And I've just been running my own business for, I think, like 6 years now or something. So, yeah, that's kind of been my work trajectory. I've been all over the place, man. But it's crazy how much, as random as all those little jobs and stuff may seem, what I do now in doing the podcast, in working, like one of my biggest contracts at the moment is with a video game company in the UK. It's like all the skills that I've learned over my 15-year career I'm using all of it. The radio stuff I'm using here, the animation stuff I'm using for them, the acting stuff I use for when I direct, and it's just pretty great how it's all sort of come full circle, and I'm still using everything. So yeah.
I was always really keen on working I remember like my first job, I was exactly like 14 years and 9 months, because that's when you could get a job. And I applied for a job at Pizza Hut in Ingleburn. And I fucking loved it. And I worked over like the summer of '99 at Pizza Hut in Ingleburn. And yeah, I remember going to uni straight after high school, because as well I got it indoctrinated into me that if you don't go to uni, you know, you're a failure. And I was just doing some like, it was like a bridge course. It was like, I didn't get high enough marks to get into what I wanted to do. And at the same time, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I eventually got into like a marketing degree. And at the same time, I was working construction with my dad. And I remember finishing my degree, and the very first job I applied for was the one that I got for. And so that was actually at with Johnson & Johnson Medical, and they were based out of North Ryde, and it was as a marketing associate. And I remember having, his name's Richard Tanner. I think he works now for, he might actually work for Google. And he was a fucking awesome manager. Like, he was unbelievable. But what I realized was after around a year, he was like moving into a different role, and he was moving to the States. I realized I didn't like my actual job. I actually liked being managed by him, like the direction that he was giving me. And so I hated my role. And then I eventually decided to switch over to another division of Johnson & Johnson, which was like, they owned Sudafed and Zyrtec. And I remember on my very first day of that role, my like line manager and then the product manager, we were like in a meeting, and like these two ladies were just fucking fighting amongst each other, like so much. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I'm like, how the fuck am I going to get out of this? And I was getting married like in 2 months as well. I'm like, how am I going to get out of this job? Like, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to quit. And this was after the first day, and they just hired me. They'd invested all this time and energy into me. And dude, I still remember it was one of the most awkward things in the world. And I told them that the reason why I was quitting was because I wanted to become a professional fighter. It was the only fucking thing I could think of. And then I quit. And then I just remember thinking, I'm so happy, like, fuck, I'm free. And then just because the corporate lifestyle, like that 9 to 5, it just didn't suit me. It just wasn't who I was or who I am. And so I'm like, you know, I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to be like, fuck it, I'll just go work in construction. And so I started working with my dad again. And like I went from having like this really great fucking product manager position at Johnson & Johnson to being a laborer again. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? Like, what am I going to do? But I always loved health and fitness. Like, it was something that I was always into. And at the time, my brother-in-law and my sister were in the process of buying the Fitness First in Campbelltown. And they bought it, and they started their own gym called Fit HQ. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start doing like an advanced diploma in fitness while I'm working with my dad, and I'll try to get a job at Fit HQ after that. And so that's what I did. I studied while I was working with my dad, and then I started working at Fit HQ. Then I started studying nutrition and did that. And I was just like a PT. And I loved it. Like, I used to fucking love it. And then, I don't know why, like, it was a little bit before COVID hit, I had this mad idea of opening up a jiu-jitsu academy. And I remember opening up the jiu-jitsu academy within Fit HQ, within the gym. And then a month later, COVID hit. And I was like, fuck. Long story short, we ended up moving the jiu-jitsu academy to the location that we're currently in. I moved all my personal training business as well to that location. And then more recently, me and Timmy decided to also open up a new allied health business called My Recovery, where we specialize in pediatric occupational therapy and speech therapy. And yeah, I've been like running my own business and doing businesses and all that for the last 10 years. And yeah, like, just like you guys and like what you mentioned, Shane, like, if someone's like, hey, why don't you become like a PT as soon as straight out of uni? Man, it would have crumbled. I would have failed miserably. So I feel like I bring all the experiences of my past jobs, my past professions, to it now. And I have a lot more freedom in my life now with what I can do, and that's what allows me to do Surf Podcast and like the Roadmap Podcast and my personal training and jiu-jitsu coaching. And yeah, like I know definitely like with my kids, I'm going to tell them, hey, don't just do something because you think it's going to bring you money. Like, you know, do something that you're interested in. And like me and Rose have spoken about this a lot in detail, that I don't think you're meant to do like one thing in life. Like it's so fucking depressing. Like to your point, thinking about teachers who are miserable in their 60s and that's all they did. Like that one fucking job. I can't think of anything worse, man. Like, well, I can think of something worse, but I mean like, it just sounds overly depressing to me. And I feel like you're meant to like chop and change and explore different avenues, because as you age, your interests and your passions change as well. Like you fall in love with different things. Like, am I going to be doing like jiu-jitsu forever? I have no idea. I really don't know. Maybe not. Like, but I'm not tying myself down to that.
And I think that, you know, especially owning your own business, like you might have your business for the rest of your life, but that won't look the same either. Like I even look at like Soulflex. I started it 3 years ago. 3 years ago? What are we now? No, 4 years ago. And it's changed so much. Even the way I present it, the way it's presented, what it looks like, how it's structured, that's changed so much. And I know that in 5 years' time, it's going to look different. You know what I mean? Because it's a representation of me, right?
Yes.
It is my heart and soul. You know what I mean? So if I'm going to grow and change in 5 years, which I know I am, my business is going to change too.
Absolutely.
And same thing, like, you know, you don't even have to own your own business, but the way that you see work and you approach work, right, it's going to change as well. Like, so it's so true. Like, it's sometimes people feel stuck and they feel fixed in their position, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like fear-based instead of love-based, right? Like, we're either driven by love and authenticity, or we're either driven by fear and insecurity. And a lot of times, and I know with me, like I felt like, oh, like I just felt stuck, and I was like, oh, well, you know, teaching pays really well. There's really good holidays, and that was what was driving me to stay in it. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you know, like I didn't understand how good my work ethic was until I started this business, and I'm like, man, like I work hard and I love working. Do you know what I mean? But I had to do a job that meant something to me for me to realize that. And like, I forgot one of my most important jobs, the pro wrestler, Fitch Valentine.
Oh, fuck.
How did I forget that? I used to be a pro wrestler as well.
Did you ever get paid for it?
$20 a match. Like that was a good day. Sometimes I'd be like, you're just getting beaten up and it's like, oh, we can't pay you today. I'm like, fuck. Well, I'll give you an envelope, it's like $10 in there. But it's gotten so much better though. Pro wrestling in Australia has gotten amazing now.
Yeah.
Like, they've done such a good job. But like, it's like, I think like a lot of the boys and girls had to like walk before like the business could crawl. But you know, some of the matches, man, is crazy. Like for like $10 and stuff. But yeah, that being said, but even that, I was kind of half-assing it. I wasn't giving it all my energy, but it's the first time where I'm just giving my energy, and it comes down to I read this book called Ikigai. Have you heard of it?
No.
You should get it. I think there's something in Kmart now. It's like $10, but it's one of my favorite books. And Ikigai is, I got it tattooed on my arm, actually, the word, and it's a Japanese word, and it's when you combine passion with purpose and then find a way to be of service to people.
Yeah.
Right? So it's passion, purpose, and service. And when you find that, it means that you found your Ikigai.
Okay.
Right? And this book, they looked at like all the blue zones around the world, and there was an island, I think it was Okinawa in Japan, and they were one of the places at the highest amount of centenarians, people above 100.
Yep.
But they weren't over 100 and just bedridden. They were still like, you know, going out at the community, playing games with each other. They were like doing like, you know, yoga and Tai Chi. They were still having like social events, having friends over, and these people were above 100 years old.
Wow.
Right.
Man.
And so these journalists went around and interviewed them and said like, you know, what are you doing that's allowing you to live such like a fruitful life past 100? And they talked about diet. You know, they weren't eating to the point where they were full. They were eating to like they were 70% full. They were making sure that community was a priority, right? And that's something that I find with us, you know, when we go to jiu-jitsu. So thank you for starting Wolf Life with Timmy, man, because it's given us a place to have a brotherhood each week and see each other every week. And, you know, like there was some things, but then one of the things was that they were still working. They were still working at 100, you know? In Western society, we're just kind of counting down to retirement.
Yep. So
You know what I
sad,
mean?
man.
We're counting down to retirement. And at that point, we've like put our blood, sweat and tears to working these 9-to-5 jobs. And mental health is like declining as well at that point, because we're just busting our ass doing a job that we don't like. Most of us, I'm just talking generically.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the age of like, what's retirement age now? 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're too busted to even want to do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're counting down to that time, and it's like, and everything's counting down. And that's just a really good way for life to go quickly, right? But these people are 100 and they're still doing their job, because their job is things that are linked to passion, purpose and service, right? And it might just be growing vegetables and selling it to community. It might be like, you know, like knitting stuff and like giving clothes to people. It was all jobs like that was just, it had intention behind it. And that's the way I look at Soulflex. It's my ikigai, you know what I mean? Because it's something that I can see myself doing till the day I die.
Yeah, you hit on this thing that it's just a central theme, right? Is that a lot of our actions based on around anything really, and especially careers, is all around fear, right? Rather than it being a value-based decision, it's a fear-based decision. Like, is this going to bring me income? Is this going to bring money? So we'll make that decision based off those things. I'll present a question to both of you. Same question. Actually, I'll go to you first, Ads. If you could go back in time to Adam in year 10 or year 12, whatever it may be, what career advice would you give him?
So yeah, I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like, if I could say, like, you're going to love filming things and making movies and shit, put all your focus and attention into that, because, you know, you're gonna love it. But I think actually what I would do, I'm envious of Collie and the path she chose. Like, I was like you guys, where I sort of had people telling me, like, oh, I think you should go do this, and I went and did that because that's what they said. And it's a problem that I have with the school system, and especially where I went to school. It's a great school. It was, and I was really fortunate that my parents could send me there because it wasn't a cheap school. But I kind of felt like the school system was arranged in a way that if you had something that contributed something to society, and that they understood something based around economics, or, you know, if it was numbers, if it was computing, whatever, and they could make sense of it, it was guided towards that way and they could help you.
Yeah.
If you were a creative person, they were kind of like, well done, you graduated, you're on your own now, like, good luck, you're doing this on your own. And then, so yeah, I went out and tried to do that. But I just went straight into uni. I wasn't enjoying it. Whereas Collie, she finished high school and was like, I don't really know what I want to do now. I'm going to go do a gap year just to experience life and experience another culture. So she went and lived in London for, I think it was about a year. She just worked at a pub in like a grotty part of London. But I hear her stories of how she went traveling and experienced so much, and just like grew so much as a person and experienced another culture. And then she came back with a clear head and sort of more of an idea of where she wanted to go, having grown so much that she was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I really like this thing, and I've taken the time to work out that I really have an interest in this thing. And yeah, now she's a licensed architect and she loves what she does. But for me, for my advice with Connor, if he finishes school and he's like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do, Dad, I'd be like, it's cool, take your time. Like, go just experience the world. It doesn't even have to be on an international level, but just go experience the world. Become a hiker, like, learn some new skills. Like, there's no hurry on it. Learn skills, because you, even if it's something like jiu-jitsu, or if it's something like hiking, if it's something like drawing, whatever, you never know where those skills are going to lead to.
Yeah.
So I would say to myself, don't hurry it. and be open to every experience, because you never know where that's going to lead to and what fulfillment that's going to bring.
How about you, Shane? What advice would you give to your younger self?
The advice I'd give my younger self, not meaning that I would want to change anything that's happened, because I think that like we said earlier, the process had to be in place. But advice I'd give my younger self, or other people that were in my shoes, I'd say just fuck the noise and do what brings you peace, right? And do what brings you peace in that present moment. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we do so much for other people, and we make decisions on other people, and we have guilt, and we're just carrying other people's crosses, right? But then, and a lot of times, like, it's sometimes, I know with my parents, they didn't want me to fail in ways that they did, right? So they were worried about that. So they were kind of like projecting their insecurities with, you know, like with their kids. But again, they did it out of love. They thought it was like they wanted the best for us. But then, like, other people can't dictate your journey. You got to be the one that dictates it. So when I say fuck the noise, just turn off all the noise. Like, you know, just respect, just like, you know, nod your head, understand that people are speaking to you from a place of love. Yeah. And they want the best for you, but then you got to do what brings you peace. And sometimes when you do stuff that brings you peace, it'll come with opposition. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But in the end, sometimes you just got to turn off the noise on the outside and just focus on what matters to you right now. And that might look different 5 years later, and that's okay.
What in your life right now, Ads, in terms of a career, would you like to experience? Like, have you thought about where you want your career to go?
Actually, yeah, just recently I changed my view on things a lot. I think without knowing it, I was sort of feeling in a bit of a lull. I often joke, and it's kind of sad in a way, but I often joke that I'm the best filmmaker that never made a film, in the way that, like, I have so many opinions about how a film should be made. I even have so many ideas for films that I wanted to make, and just creative pursuits that I wanted to do that I just never went through with. I never followed them through. And unfortunately that comes around things like video game addiction and things like that. Like in my 20s, in that formative time where I probably, like, I had all these opportunities, and even when I quit my job at Animal Logic, I became an actor and stuff, but I could have pursued that so much harder and done so much better at it. But, you know, I also got into World of Warcraft at the same time, and that, like, sadly, a lot of my days were spent doing that rather than pursuing the thing that I said I was doing. And then a lot of the jobs that came after was because I'd spent all my savings from when I'd worked full time just to get by, because I wasn't working, and I was saying I was being an actor, but I was playing video games. And so, yeah, I think sadly, I was talking to Collie about this recently. I don't think she realized the scope of that regret that I have in my mind about the opportunities that I never took. I was speaking to her about it just recently, probably like a week or two ago, and she sort of went like, holy shit, like, you really sort of beat yourself up in a way about these things that you just never came to fruition. And so I was feeling a bit low recently because I realized in my business that where I thought I'd get to, working in production crews and filming movies with big production teams and whatever, those jobs just never came into AWOL, into my business. And they've all been smaller corporate things that, like, start dragging on you after, because they're the same every single time, and I don't really get a chance to be creative with them and stuff. And so yeah, just before Connor was born, I made the decision to just shoot a short film for myself, just because I hadn't done that in so long. I hadn't made anything for myself. I decided to start writing a book because it was another creative pursuit. I was like, I need to find those things in my life to find fulfillment so I can still do this work.
Yeah.
Because I found that like the pursuit of trying to find that sort of fulfillment in my creative side, it wasn't going to come with the avenue that my production company currently offered me. But then, you know, recently it was a thing that I did with Shane. Shane started these great things at Soulflex this year, and it's mindful masterclasses. And so he's getting people in from different avenues of life that have different skill sets, and people can come and learn from these people from these avenues and learn how you can use them for mindfulness and stuff. And so he graciously asked me to, from things that I've talked to him about how I experience looking through cameras and filming things and the things that I feel on the other side of the camera, he asked me to do a masterclass on photography for mindfulness and like explaining some of those things that I was explaining to him to people. And I can't explain to you how much I enjoyed that process of making that presentation and making that masterclass and then delivering the masterclass to these people and seeing how much they were getting out of it. But also how much I got out of sort of giving something back, which I think goes back to that idea of what we were talking about serving the community more.
Yeah.
It finally felt like for the first time in a while, I'm actually getting a bit emotional thinking about it. It felt like the first time in a while that I was doing something of worth and of value. And God, it just felt good. Like, and after that masterclass, I started thinking of like, maybe this is the point in my life where I need to sort of make a bit of a pivot. Like, how can I start using the skills that I built to give back a bit more?
Sure.
To get this feeling from it, because it just hadn't turned out where I thought it would go to. And in reality, I only had myself to blame, but rather than sitting around and beating myself up about it, it's like, okay, well, where to from here? Like, what can we get to? And so I think from here, it's about trying to now restructure things that maybe I'm not so much the artist anymore that sits behind the camera as much, and that's how I make my money. Maybe like the thing that I do for work gives a bit back more, while also allowing Collie and I to have a house and raise a son and stuff like that, but still having those things on the side that fulfill me creatively as well, so I can still do this thing that I love that has turned into a job now rather than something that I love, because it's a very dangerous thing when people say like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. The sad reality of that is like when I was doing what I love, strapped to a chair for an agency 9 to 5, I was not loving it.
Yeah.
And even for my own business, I thought that's the next route. Oh, if I'm doing it for myself, I'll love it. But then the jobs are coming in that aren't fulfilling, and it's like, I'm doing what I love and I'm starting to not love it anymore. How do I start loving it again? And so that's kind of what I would hope for the future, is that, I can give back a bit more and still find that passion and love for what I'm doing again.
I love that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
How about you, Shane? Like, how do you see yourself? How do you see your future? How do you see yourself, like, things expanding and changing and growing?
You know what? It's one of those things, right? Like, obviously, like, we've all manifested where we are today, right? But, like, that was everything that we're doing right now, whether it's career, family, relationships, whatever, it started with a thought, right? So whether you believe in manifestation or not, everything in life is manifested from a thought. Sometimes, like, I find with manifesting, though, I always think about like that question, like where it's going to go, but then I spend most of the time business wise in the present moment, but I have to kind of like consciously sit down and do a manifesting process to put the thought out there and plant the seeds, right? So I always, like, every 3 to 4 months, I'll sit down in my journal and I'll draw what my life is going to look like. And I'll just sketch it out, different things. It'll be like a mind map, just different images. It might not even make sense, right? But something that keeps coming up is doing like big retreats, right? And owning a property. I don't know where. It might not be in this country. It might not be in the state. I have no idea where, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Big property with little tiny homes, right? And people just come in to like whether it's just to refill their cup or whether it's to learn skills for their own mental health and their spiritual journey, right? So we'll have the gym set up there, we'll have the breathwork circles, we'll have and I'll be contracting people to come in, like yoga instructors, yoga facilitators, people from different holistic health backgrounds coming in, and people can stay there for 2 days a week, whatever long they need to stay, and just pick up those skills so that they can then take it onto their with their life afterwards and stuff as well. And that's the thought that just keeps popping up for me. So I find that if God plants a thought in your mind, it's meant for you. Do you know what I mean? It's meant for you. And yeah, that's where I see it going to, and just running just big retreats for people to come in and just learn about. What about you, Jonny?
Man, I don't know. I'm more of the thought now of I used to think about that a lot, what will the next phase of my career look like? And for me right now, I'm putting a lot of emphasis and energy towards what are the experiences that I want to have in my life. And I think perhaps it's because maybe my businesses are now established and they're kind of well-oiled machines, and they do well. It gives me this freedom to do things. And so for me, it's more how do I focus on living and experiencing rather than just making so many fear-based decisions because of money and of a career. And so I really I talked to Rose obviously a lot, and I was saying to her I really want to travel the world a lot, but with my kids. That's something that I really want to do. In August we're going to Bali for my sister's wedding. In December hopefully we're going to Japan. The following year we're going to be going to Europe. But I feel I just want to travel this world a lot. I feel I want to see this world a lot. But I see myself having the Wolf Life Academy, but also stepping away from it. And what I mean by that is having someone else maybe manage it, and me just becoming a student like you guys. I miss that. It's cool having a jiu-jitsu academy as, being the owner of a jiu-jitsu academy as my career. But I hate the politics of it sometimes. I hate the operations of it sometimes. I'd love to just be a student again. That's why I started doing it, because I loved it so much. And so, I don't know. I feel I'm not putting this pressure on myself anymore I guess the pressure before was coming from fear. But now I feel I'm just you know what? I'm just going to chase my heart. Whatever I feel passionate in, I think I'm going to follow. I think I'm going to chase.
Yeah.
And have fun experimenting with that and building that. Because, you do get in this mindset of you think that your job and your career is going to solve your problems, that money is going to solve your problems, but it's fucking not. It doesn't at all. And that's why, to your point, Ads, how you were saying, people say what's that line that, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
But that changes. Your passions change, your interests change. And for me, because I'm a personal trainer as well, I was going through this phase where I was hating what I was doing. But that's because of where my focus was, where my intentions were. But now, I love personal training so much. I'm so in love with it. And there is so many things that I want to explore in terms of training dads and just I don't know, just exploring a whole wide range of different things. But I'm not boxing myself in anymore. So that's what I guess I was trying to say with the whole experiences, where it's don't chase the money, don't chase happiness, but just be curious. What am I curious? What am I interested in, and why?
I think Shane and I were actually talking about this recently on one of our Queen Street coffee
catch-ups.
Curbside
coffee catch-ups.
Where everyone thinks we're homeless and tries to give us money. But yeah, we're talking about that adage where people would say, oh, money doesn't buy you happiness. And we agreed that, the pursuit of money will never give you happiness, but having money allows the freedoms, kind of like what you're talking now, to then pursue those more passionate things and things that, and so inadvertently, it may not still bring you happiness, but it brings you a bit more fulfillment in your life and what you do. So that old saying is definitely true in terms of the pursuit of money. I don't think they were clear enough when they said, they made that saying up. Like, money won't buy you happiness is such a general term, but it definitely allows you
to do things.
Financial freedom, right? Yep. Financial freedom is so important. Yeah. But like, there's another saying, like, what you do with $10 is what you'll do with $10 million, right? So if you're someone that just kind of hoards that $10 and keeps it in your pocket, and there's some Bible passages that talk about this too, but like, if you're someone that kind of keeps it, or if you're someone who's just really like greedy with it, that's who you're going to be with $1 million, right? Yeah. And $10 million. But if you're someone who, like, values money and understands that it can be an asset for freedom, it can also be an asset to help people, right? And if, like, if I've got like change in there and I'm like, I'm going to buy you a coffee, you know what I mean? And we're also generous with money. Like, we're always like very generous with money and stuff as well. That's who you're going to be. So it's, and it's true. Like, and when you were talking to Jonny about looking at his experiences, I love that. And that's why I try not to stay too forward. I'll do it for the purpose of manifesting, but then I'll try to stay present with it, because you guys heard me say this a lot with Soulflex. I always say, and I don't just say it because it sounds good or it's catchy, I always say this is God's business and I work for him. I say it all the time, right? Soulflex is God's business and I'm just his employee. I'm not for the sake of, like, I guess, like banks and all that, I'll call myself the business owner, but I honest to God believe that it's his business. And the reason why is because this business just happened so organically. And I watched the process almost like I was watching a movie, just seeing it unfold. And I know that it was, I know that I worked hard and I put the effort in and stuff, but it was a very divine process. And just seeing it grow and seeing things happen and being put in place, I know that he was kind of taking the wheel and directing me, right? And sometimes, like, when you are put in a position of power or leadership, you start to have that I am God mentality, right? Where you think that I'm indestructible, I did all this is me. But then there comes a time in life or in business where you need someone to go to. And I find that, like, I have to keep checking myself, because sometimes, and I was going to ask you guys what your biggest challenge is in business that you find, but for me, it's coming back to that and just allowing God and surrendering to him running the business for me. And, like, what that looks like is, for example, right? Let's say if I have someone hit me up for PT, right? And then I spend hours on the phone talking to them in the consult, like helping them, giving them direction, telling them what my services are. And then all of a sudden they ghost me, right? And I never hear from them again. I don't like to chase too much, but, like, I might just message them in a week and be like, hey, like, are you still interested in PT? And, like, sometimes I do the right thing and say, oh, no, not really. I'm like, that's cool. Other times they'll just kind of leave you in red, right? And I thank God for that when that happens. Just as much as I thank him every time I pick up a new client, I thank him when I either lose a client or if someone ghosts me after a consult, because he might be saving me from something with that client in the future. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I mean. I let him dictate the flow of this business, and I just kind of, like, follow that flow. Yeah. And that's what I mean by he runs the business for me. And I remember, like, when I started this business, people would tell me, like, oh man, the first 3 years, it's going to be the hardest years of your life. You're going to lose sleep. And I don't mean to sound cocky or anything like that. It's been easy. It's been easy because I fucking love it. I love it. When I was teaching, I would never spend a Sunday or school holidays working. I'd be like, fuck that. I'm not going to spend, like, the weekend. That's for me. I'm happily on my laptop on a Sunday doing stuff for Soulflex, doing stuff for clients, because I love it. I absolutely love it. It hasn't been hard. There's been hard moments, but for me, the biggest challenge is when my ego gets in the way and I start thinking about,
you beat me to it.
Yeah, ego, right? Yeah.
That's
it's when the ego gets in the way, and then I try to control things and I take back the wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I give it to God, it's like, it's funny. It's like, I don't feel the pressure because I'm like, hey, it's your business. It's not mine. I don't feel the pressure of running a business. You know what I mean? And I just end up just enjoying myself and loving what I'm doing. And then the money becomes a byproduct.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, because people can see authenticity. You know what I mean? They can see love in what you're doing, and the money will come. You know what I mean? But then I'm not sitting there counting the money. I'm not sitting there like worrying about the money or any of that as well. Like, for me, it's like there's just a few little benchmarks. I'm like, can I pay rent? Yep. Does Lorna and the dogs and I have food to eat? Yep. Do I have clothes in my bag? Yep. Cool. That's it. And everything else is a bonus, right? And I just enjoy myself with what I'm doing. But there's times where I remember actually, it was probably like 6 months into starting the business, I started getting into like the ego mindset, thinking like, oh, how can I like monetize this? How can I get more money for this? And that became my driving factor. And I started losing clients, right? I started losing clients. I'm thinking like, what the hell? I'm doing all these things. I'm like talking to other business owners, trying to like pick their brain, doing all the things that are right that people are telling me to do. Why am I losing clients? Why? And then I realized I'm not even enjoying it anymore. I'm not having fun anymore. And then it was a switch, right? I'm like, no, I got to get back to what brought me to the dance. And that was devoting my life to God and being of service to people, right? It's not about me, you know, it's about we. And I went back to that, and then instantly I think that week, the next week, I picked up 3 new clients. Do you know what I mean? And that was God's way of kind of like humbling me again and bringing me back to what brought me to the dance.
I think that's a beautiful way to end it, man. I think that's full circle. Thank you for sharing your experiences with me, boys. I think it's really good, and with our listeners. And I think they'll get plenty out of that, guys.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, boys.
Good chat. Thank you, guys.